evening and welcome to ELOSOFUMARTAKES. This is our 366th take, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studio of Azle, Texas. I'm your host, Barry Duplessis, as always, and I'm so proud, so pleased, and so privileged to be with you all tonight. This is going to be a fantastic show. We welcome back one of our favorite guests, and we have a lot to dive into tonight, so we're going to get underway in just a couple of moments. But before we get to formal introductions of our guests of honor this evening, we do have to thank the people that make this show possible, and that, of course, is our sponsors. Tonight's show is brought to you by Drew Estate. Drew Estate has done it once again, unveiling an absolutely new era for the distinguished and legendary brand of Undercrown. The Undercrown El Tigre Dominicano has made its way onto the market. Yes, since its birth at the factory floor, Undercrown has always been and represented the spirit of the underdog. The newest extension to the Undercrown line sees this familiar underdog spirit extended past Nicaragua to the fields of the Dominican Republic to create an Undercrown unlike any before. Undercrown El Tigre Dominicano is defining a new chapter of the Undercrown brand, one deeply rooted in the Dominican Republic. For the first time ever, Undercrown embraces a Dominican filler-forward expression with the elegant and rich Dominican filler tobaccos in full spotlight. At the core of El Tigre is a beautiful pairing of Dominican HVA and C98 leaves, tobacco selected specifically for their balance, structure, and aromatic depth. Together, they build a layered, expressive base of flavors easily enjoyed by any fan of premium cigars. Check out your Drew Diplomat retailer today for the all-new Undercrown El Tigre Dominicano. Go get some today. And welcome, everybody. This is our 366th take. If you're tuning in live on Facebook or checking us out later on YouTube, you are taking a look at our video broadcast, which is always courtesy of our good friends at Foundation Cigars. Nick Melillo began his career in the cigar industry at the age of 18, working at a cigar shop, the Calabash Shop, in his home state of Connecticut. He went on to work for a well-known cigar company, we just talked about them, Drew Estate, where he developed some of the most popular blends. In 2015, he started Foundation Cigar Company to create unique and flavorful cigars that would appeal from everyone from the novice to the most experienced smoker. And if you're tuning into us later, wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts, be sure you download, subscribe, and review. Our audio broadcast is always courtesy of our good friends at Gran Habano Cigars. Honest, compassionate, great cigars. Be sure you download, subscribe, and review today. Thanks to our good friends at Gran Habano. As I mentioned before, this is our 366th take. So without further ado, let's get to introductions of our guest tonight, which is brought to you by United Cigars. Smoke one today and start living united. It is Sébastien Decoppet of Cavalier Genève. Sébastien, how are you doing, my friend?
Hey, Bear. Doing pretty well. I appreciate you having us having me on the show today, but us as Cavalier. It's great to be back.
Yeah, it's been you were saying something about it. It's been a while since you've been on a podcast, so I'm glad I caught you at a good time. That's great.
Yep.
I've always loved having you on the show, but it's great.
Just timing, right? Timing and shit going on, and I was laughing the other day. I was talking with a retailer that I consider a friend, and he was pretty much letting me understand that I hadn't visited for a while, and I was like, yeah, I know. But any business owner probably will understand that, right? It's just so much stuff on the plate all the time, so much stuff to deal with, and there's times you're a bit more free, other moments where it's a bit more complicated, more stuff to deal with. And the last year or so has been really busy. So I've been less available, but I'm glad you caught me just on the right time. And you know how to make the shit happen. That's the thing, right? You just there's ways to get what you want, right? And you've been very efficient at it. It was simple, nothing complicated, straightforward. 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, what is it? 3 weeks later?
Something 3 weeks later. Yeah. Yeah.
Straightforward.
Well, yeah, and like you were in the middle of something too, and it was like really short notice, and I was like, hey man, why don't we just do the 14th? And you're like, yeah, sounds good. And I'm like, cool. All right, cool. Awesome. Fantastic. So
but that's the thing. It was uncomplicated, right? It was very simple. So worked out. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So, well, it's not like you and Brian and the company haven't been up to a lot of stuff. I mean, 10 years in the business now, opening up a factory the last couple of years, and taking on contract brands, building your own brand, and all the new stuff and everything like that. But we're gonna get into all that tonight. So, but before we do, I've got a couple of prospectors here. We were talking about this before the show. We've got one of
Yeah.
the unbanded ones. This is one of the original ones from
Which,
UG.
yeah, this is the original. So the Prospector, the little story for Prospector was um the first shop exclusive we ever did in the US was for a shop called Underground, which you know pretty well too, and I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with it. It's a shop in the DFW area.
Hmm.
They asked us to do something for an event they do every year, and we just happened to do it. I hadn't seen one of those cigars in a long time, long time. That's been years and years and years ago. So nice that you have that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I have another old prospector as well. This one's got 2 years of age on it, actually. So this is when you released it kind of to the masses.
Yeah, this is one of the current blend. So it's been the original one and the current blend have the same name, but are two very different cigars. Really no parallel in terms of blends. And I'll be frank, I can't even remember what the original blend was, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, there was something about a San Andres wrapper, which was a darker one, the clear one. I can't even remember. It's a long time. And the new one, well, the new one, the official one, the current one that is available to market is actually two. The two wrappers are from Jalapa, so very different. Already
Very different
wrapped
blend, yeah.
and the rest of the cigar too.
Yeah, different colorations too. Like the barber pole on the
Yeah,
UG one is a little bit thicker. The poles are a little
yeah,
bit
yeah.
thicker. The prospector, the labeled prospector, the with the hunter and wrappers,
Yeah, and the
a little bit
original one
thinner.
had no bands, and the official one, the market one, has prospector band. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Well, which one am I lighting up? You tell me.
mm, ah, that's a tough one. Smoke the normal production one.
Smoke
The
the
other
normal
one,
version.
if
Okay.
you have time after, smoke it
Okay.
to compare. I've not had it in so long. I mean, ever since the event, actually, that was probably last time I had one of these. So I'd be curious. But the regular one is a solid bet.
Yeah,
I'm actually
I was
the show.
telling I was talking to you before the show about this, and I was like, I actually did something pretty stupid. Normally I keep, as you know, the Visa Jalapa, the B2 Visa Jalapa on like pretty ready standby. And I was getting ready for the show last week, and it's like, oh, I'll smoke one of those, and I did, and it was my last one. I was like, oh, no big deal. I'll just buy a box. I'll just order a box, have it here, time for the show. It's no problem. Of course, uh, the shipping gods decided to interfere with that, and it's the second week in a row where I haven't gotten something shipped to me in time. So, uh, both my fault. So yeah, I appreciate the compliments earlier, but I'm losing my touch on this. So I need to maybe just have stuff on standby and not have to worry about getting stuff shipped the next couple shows. But I'm excited about lighting this up, Sebastian. Thank you so much. So let's before that, let's go ahead and get into tonight's major point, which is brought to you by Gran Habano Cigars from the fertile lands of Honduras. George Rico and his family have put together the very best vintages for you. Yes, you, the cigar smoker. From value-based hits like Corojo Number 5 to the award-winning 20th anniversary to special projects like Zulu Zulu, Gran Habano is about cultivating the best and making pinnacle cigars for the market. Culture, tradition, quality, premium handcrafted Gran Habano cigars. So, Sebastian, I mean, let's kick this things off. I mean, like 10 years in the business, man. I mean, there have been ups, there have been ups, there have been some downs, like
There's
everything in
been
life,
down
but
downs too.
but man, I mean, gosh, I can't believe it's been 10 years since
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like it was yesterday when I first smoked, not just smoked, but saw my first Cavalier Geneva white label, and I was like, "What is this thing? What is on the cigar?" And
What the fuck is that thing? Yeah.
here we are 10 years later, and it's I have favorites obviously that are even part of my like my weekly rotation and that I keep on hand and gotten to know you over the last few years and stuff, and it's been fantastic. I mean.
Oh,
And I mean,
likewise.
what is 10 years? What is 10 like? I'm going to ask the cliche question. What does 10 years mean to you? Like, what does it mean?
You know, it means it's like infancy, right? It's still very young. 10 years can be seen very like a lot of different ways, right? 10 years can be sometimes it shocks me that it's already been 10 years because it feels such a long time. At the same time, 10 years is really nothing, right? And I realize that now with the kid that is going to be three years old next week. It's like the years pass, time passes so fast.
Right.
It's been 10 years since I launched the brand back in Switzerland. It's been another year and a half prior to that, year and a half or so prior to that. Where I was living here in Dundee. I'm currently in Dundee in Honduras at the house. Um, where I came here, as a kid. It's crazy when I think about it. I feel like the only thing I've known in my life is tobacco, but really it's only been, it's been about 30% of my life. Which professionally, right? Which is somewhat crazy, somewhat crazy. I don't really know. It seems short and long at the same time. It seems like we achieve stuff, and at the same time, it seems like we've not done even remotely enough. It's a very, very strange feeling. It's a very strange feeling. But what is sure is it's not the last time we're celebrating. We're going to be celebrating decades, so we have time left if life decides so. And I'm looking to spend them within the industry.
Awesome. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean the company has certainly changed a little bit. You know, and I mean that to the degrees. Like there's been some big changes, right? There's been some
Yeah.
monumental stuff that you've done within the company, but like there have been little things that have also changed as well too. And but I think one of the things that I really like about it, even though like you had a couple of uh, a couple of projects that kind of went away from the gold diamond. The gold diamond has kind of been is has been the trademark. It's been there
Yeah.
the throughout.
It's the reason why we're still here. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that.
So, we know, look, a few years back, you brought Brian on and have opened up the factory and things like that. But like, what what would you say is probably your mo as a founder, as the founder of Cavalier, right? I mean, this was your company. You started
Yeah.
it and you built it up. What what was the hardest lesson? What was the hardest lesson that you've learned in 10 years as the founder from that aspect? Not necessarily making cigars or anything like that, but as the founder of a company, what's the
It's
biggest
the
challenge, biggest
yeah.
lesson that you've learned?
It's a tough question because it makes you think about so many things, right? And that's where you see that 10 plus years, because 10 plus the time before I launched the company and everything is quite a bit of time. There's been so many things happening, so many life lessons in general. Um, but I think the toughest is probably it's more of a general thing, what it makes you go through and teaches you about yourself and forces the old yourself to change into a new you, right? Um, I think this is, I mean, you can't do it, you can't do it just all at once.
Sure.
It's step by step, life showing you things, teaching you things, putting new challenges in front of you, and forming a new version. And you kind of, every time in life that you want to achieve something, you look at the achievement and you feel you can nearly touch it, but the reality is you can't yet. Probably not because it's not feasible, but because you're not there yet. And that teaches you a few things. I'm not a patient person. And 10 years hurts, but it teaches you things because of that. It teaches you life, who you have to become, who you were. And sometimes it hurts, I think. Probably one of the hardest things is this, is you can't really, it's not just about the achievements or the hurdles, the good, the bad. It's about you and the process of your life within, that segment or what you're doing and what it changes for you, right? I like to
Sure.
put it this way. I used to be the kid that wouldn't, so I grew up in Switzerland. I used to, public transportation to put the picture is pretty good. But I used to be the kid that wouldn't go out of the house because I was too scared to take the bus the wrong way and not know how to get home. Um, to go
Well,
from there
that's a yeah. I was gonna
to,
say to just flying to Honduras with a suitcase.
yeah, and that
Yeah,
was just that one first step, right? You really have to change. You have to change yourself. You have to learn about yourself, change yourself, push the boundaries every day. And I think if I put myself back, the current me versus the kid me, um, there's two very different people. And I think if I had chosen another path, it would be today, the current me would be very different. And I'm
sure.
sure it's going to be the same thing in 10 years. I mean, it's one of the things where it's part of the beauty of it, but it's part of the toughness of it too.
Like, what's the most surprising thing that you've like if like today, like the way that the company looks today, is shaped today, right now, this moment? Like, what do you think is what is the biggest surprise? And don't you dare say that you're still here, that you're surprised you're still here, because that is such a
No,
cliche answer, and
um,
I know you don't believe that for a second. So,
interestingly, funny from what you said is, you know, I've had through the years, Aileen and I have had several different businesses on the side of Cavalier. Some we sold, some we lost, whatever. Some still have. I mean, it doesn't matter. It was always a gamble, but but Cavalier was always different. Cavalier was my first business. Cavalier was my first life-changing moment, thing that I did. And it's always been my baby. And there has never been an what if. It's always been, it's going to work out. Yes or yes. There is no no. There is no plan B. There is no nothing. Was it risky? Yes. Could we have failed? Maybe, but no. And that's the thing. And maybe we can, I mean, the risk is always here. It's always going to be here. There is always the risk of an end date, right? It's just a reality. But in my mind, it's always been that very strange kind of thought of I cannot fail this at this. Because I also came from a very low, when I started this, it was coming from a pretty low moment in my life. And so that was thing that had to save my life, save me, save my future, if you want. And then from there, we could build, and we've been able to build and create good things for other people. But it started from there. So I think the thing that surprised me the most, that's a tough one. Um, you know, we started the brand with the white series without the gold diamond. And there's been a few things that happened. Aileen bringing the gold thing to me, and I didn't know how to feel about it. I had a friend who used to be or was my best man at the wedding, who gave me the tagline "Smoke gold, stay gold," right?
right.
That
Yeah,
we
I
still
remember
use
that.
today. All these things, I was pushing back a lot on it originally, and because I didn't know how to feel about it, because it was different, because it was not something that came from me, and it's very difficult to accept things that come from other people and actually insert it within your own vision of what you were building. And I'm probably surprised in a positive way to have seen, because the risk with this was the perception from people, right? We always knew it was never going to be the gray area. It's always going to be black or white. It's always going to be I like it, I don't like it. It's always going to be that kind of duality within the brand or what we
Sure.
were pushing. But what I never thought of early on was we needed more positive than negative. We needed more people to adopt it than actually reject it. And I'm probably surprised to have seen that people actually accepted something that different in the industry.
Hmm.
And not for everybody, we're still young, but having people really adopt the brand for that. And even when we came out, as you mentioned earlier, even when we came out with other things, because I needed to express myself differently. Um, Funny enough, I'm the first one that ended up adopting it more than anybody else because once I played around with other things, it sucked me right back in. I went right back to this. The 10th anniversary has gold. The project Broadleaf has gold.
Right.
The future projects I have in mind have gold. And so, yeah, I think not only the positive response to it, but the way it actually got me when at first I was pushing back on it.
That's funny. Yeah, I think it's really funny because I think the two inner circle projects that you did, fantastic cigars. Love them
Thank
both. Love them both. And um I think that was the feedback. Like I heard this so many times when we were talking about like, in a cigar shop or like with my like cigar media like colleagues and stuff, and we were like, yeah, it's great, but it always came with that but. It doesn't have the gold thing. Like what does it matter? Like, and I felt like I was one of the few voices that was like, but what does it matter? But, just kind of hearing you talk about it too, about how it's even if it was reluctant to begin with, it's become a part of your identity that you just like it's part of the core. It's part of the core
it's it's the,
of what
it's the
the
heart
Mhm.
of the brand. It's
Yeah.
as simple as that. It's the heart of the brand. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm absolutely happy to have done the inner circle, the Domaine Rouge, and I will do it again. The cigar I smoke the most of what we do. My daily cigar, my one thing that I can't miss, the one thing I bring with me when I travel, the one thing I bring with me when I'm see most of the time they have been living here in Honduras, but I still spend a lot of time abroad, right? And I don't have the factory close to me, and I live months in Europe at a time. The clip, and um, the one thing I bring with me, the one thing I need is my Domaine Rouge. It's so that blend for me is special. It is the blend that attracts or that in the core stuff we do, it's the blend for me.
Mhm.
For several reasons, for the cigar itself, for what it represents, for there's so many things that resonate with me in that specific cigar, in line in general. But I have 30 cigars around me today. The three of them have gold.
Mhm.
I still, there is, I think the fact of going away from it because I needed it. I needed, as I said earlier, to express myself differently in terms of creativity and creation. I needed to be able to feel like I have the liberty of being free of that symbol. Also taught me that, it's like when, let's put it like this. You're born in, let's say, someone is born in New York City and lives 20 years, 25, 30 years of his or her life in New York City. Travels a bit and everything, but New York is home. And suddenly that person is fed up, and needs to see something else. Moves to Tennessee, moves to California, moves to Japan for that matter. You suddenly see the beauty that you didn't see anymore. You suddenly kind of like feel reconnected to your roots. Um, and start looking at your buildings from your home New York City as a tourist. Then you start looking up, looking up and looking at the skyrise, the skyline and everything, and enjoying every single bit of it, rediscovering your own home. And I think that's more or less what had to happen. And I'm not saying I'm not going to go away from it again. I just know that this taught me more about how much I liked what we were doing for the last decade now. And but it also taught me, going away from it, also taught me that we could do more visually, aesthetically, because the cigar is not only the tobacco. It's not only the fermentation, the processes, the rolling, but it's also the creative process behind it, the arts, the visuals.
Mm-hmm.
It's the emotion is more than just the tobacco. The product is more than just the tobacco. And so it taught me that we could go and push the boundaries by going away from the gold. It taught me, coming back from the gold, that we could use those skills to build something more complex, more unique, still have the gold, but complement it with more,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't know how to do before. So, I'm happy about it.
Nice. You know, everyone knows by now everyone knows the story, like you fly into Honduras, with just your suitcase, um, go to the airport not even knowing where you're going.
But
Still
half
love,
of my suitcase
yeah,
when it came here, yeah.
yeah, love the story.
Uh,
Um, you know, obviously we've talked about this, bringing on a partner with Brian, opening up a cigar factory. Like those are all gambles. Like you were talking about
mhm,
gambling earlier and how this you knew is all going to work out with Cavalier as opposed
mhm.
to like other businesses. That's where you could, I guess, shoot the dice a little bit more. But what's a gamble that maybe not that maybe the rest of us don't know about that worked out? Like, hey, I didn't know if this was going to work and it did.
You mean within the brand or
Yeah,
in general?
within well, yeah, within the
Within
brand,
Cavalier,
within the industry, however you want to frame it. Yeah.
within the industry, every step,
Every
every day,
fair enough.
every hire, everything, everything is no exception. There really is every day. You don't know.
Does it ever
You
stop being
learn, you get
scary?
better at it. You do it with heart, with love, with passion, with everything you can, but everything is a gamble. And the amount of fuck ups and the amount of great moments, as we discussed or before the show, is mind blowing. I mean, we've gotten so close to closing so many times. We've gotten so high so many times. Um, it, it, but you never know. You take decisions every day. The whole thing you do when you run businesses in general is take decisions, right? One after the other. Some informed, some by heart, some just because you're tired and you need to get some shit done and you need to take decisions and you take them. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, sometimes you fuck up relationships, sometimes you build them, sometimes you bring great stuff to the market that doesn't work out. Sometimes you bring great stuff to the market that works out. I mean, it's a constant gamble. It's a never ending story.
What is there any is there like has there ever been a time where like do you think has there ever been a time where it doesn't scare you anymore? Like the gamble every step doesn't.
I I've been and I think many people have in that position of doing this, not just cigars, but in general. You lose some sensitivity to it. The fear is not the same. There is spikes of fears because it's big steps again or big risks, but the level of fear is and the level of being scared is on daily basis is really different. You don't feel that gamble as a big risk anymore. You just go and do it. I think it does with time. It just polishes the angles and just becomes your everyday, like anything else. But it's life in general. Every time you walk across the street, you don't pay attention. You look on your phone one day, the next day you don't, and then you're like, oh shit! The other day I crossed the road without even checking if there were cars, and you could have died. Same thing with business. Sometimes you're tired, you take crazy decisions just because you're tired, and the next day you're like, oh, I could have died yesterday, right? That's the whole thing. But it's like life. It's literally it's life, like anything else. It's just that you semi-consciously and sometimes fully consciously um push your own boundaries because you have to. There is no comfort zone ever, right? Ever. That's fine. I mean, that's it's also rewarded by crazy adrenaline sometimes. It's that's the other problem. You're running after that, those highs. That's the crazy part in business. You're running after those highs because you get crazy highs. It's like drugs, it's like anything else. It's like gambling, I guess. I don't gamble. But I think it's the same symptoms, the same things that pull you back in every time. I would imagine so.
Awesome. I think the thing for me, like I get asked this all the time, and I have this conversation from time to time because for the most part, well, not for the most part, but most a great number of times, the people that I have on as guests are business owners like yourself, right? They actually own the business, they own the brand, they own the factory, whatever it is, right? What case may be, they're business owners, they're entrepreneurs. And we have this conversation all the time. Like, Bear, have you ever thought about starting your own business in whatever capacity? Doesn't really matter. And man, that just
But you
scares the shit.
do.
It scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, but that's what you're doing right now is your own is it's yes, you're doing other things, but that's a business. It's
True.
it's
Yeah.
it's a business. It is. It really is.
Yeah. Well, the risk is relatively low. Like if I, like what's the for me, like the risk is like I don't get a guest next week. Like what's the
So you're gonna say what's the worst that can happen? That's business. What's the
Yeah.
worst that can happen? What happens tomorrow if we have a hiccup? We'll figure the shit out. I
Yeah.
mean, the same thing for you. It's there's very different businesses.
Right.
The risk is different. The what you have to figure out is different. But I wouldn't know how to do what you do. Um, for that matter, I wouldn't know how to do what, I mean, I've been a retailer, but it's not my thing. I've been all fine in retail. That was more than fine, but it's not my thing. I'm not talented at it. Um, and so same thing. I'd rather do this, and you'd rather
Hmm.
do probably what you're doing than doing what I do. I, I think you're unfair with yourself because it is a business.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I appreciate the boost. Um, so I mean, just to cap things off for this front and before we could dive into some more stuff, but just, you know, 10 years from now, like when the as we keep gambling on a daily basis, to put it like you said, 10 years from now, what are you hoping that people say about Cavalier, what Cavalier has contributed to the cigar industry?
You know, I think that's something that evolves in time. I think a few years ago, I would have looked at things differently. When I started, I would definitely have looked at things differently. In 10 years, I'll probably be looking at things differently. But, apart from the general overall success and continuing to see growth and just personal goals and, personal business goals, et cetera, et cetera, this is putting all this apart, like the usual stuff that you think when you run a business. I think if there is one thing we can do, and it's more than 10 years, it's even 50 years from now or 100 or whatever it is if we can in in my lifespan, in which I will have for whatever defined time an influence on Cavalier and what it is and etc. Um, if I can ensure that Cavalier becomes part of cigar history books, of not physically, I don't care about books, but about the history. When I say history books, about the history of cigars. If a way or another we can write Cavalier in history for cigars, then I think we will have done what can be done.
That's awesome. What uh, what's the one thing that, sorry, I was trying to think of how to word it. What do you think will get what do you think gets what do you think gets in the way of that? Is there any one thing that gets in the way of that?
The what?
Is what gets in the way of that happening? Like what's the biggest thing that could get in the way of that
That
happening?
could time, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to say. You know, to make history, you need time, and time meaning time and also the right timing.
Right.
Um, you need to push boundaries. You need to probably shock and disturb people and do things that haven't been done. You need to try to be consistent through time of what you deliver, of respecting your customer, respecting the consumer, respecting the industry, making your own space within the industry, right? Because we all know that ultimately it is on the professional level as much as on the consumer level. It is a community, and when you're not born within the community, you need to make your space there and get accepted there. And the consistency is important with your customers, with the consumers, as well as anybody else in invested in the industry, whether it's the press, whether it's, you know, when I say press, it's anybody in the communication side of the business, which is you, which is whoever else is in there, which and leave a long-lasting memory. And this is not something you can do on hype. This is not something you can do overnight. I'm sure there has been incredibly hyped brands, people in their time, right? Brands that everybody wanted to smoke in the early 1900s that nobody remembers today, that no book has barely a sign of today. And I'm saying this because I love browsing for inspiration, look at old bands, old names, and there's so many things I've never seen, never even heard of. And so, you know, I don't know what the secret sauce is, but I'm sure there's time, there's timing, there's consistency, and making your own space within that industry in the time that this industry gives you, pretty much, right? And then further than that, life will tell. I don't know, but I think that would be a beautiful thing if we can do a bit more than just be a company and just be a group of companies in that case. And if we can leave a bit of something behind, that would be nice.
Awesome. Well, we've got a few more questions about Cavalier tonight, but before we do, we're going to break up our questions about that and with our one of our first of many fun segments for the night. You may remember this. I know it's been a while since you've been on the show, but we have a presidential trivia segment, which is brought to you by United Cigar. Are you ready to live the United lifestyle? Launch your palate voyage with United Cigars. You can celebrate over 250 years of excellence with the Red Anchor, or experience elegance with La Giana Havana. Rekindle the spirit of 1776 and light up the skies with a firecracker. Then celebrate honor, pride, and accomplishment with a gold star. Jet set the globe and capture luxury with Atabey, Byron, Alfonso, Bandolero, or now the Nelson line from Selected Tobacco. Don't just smoke, smoke United. United Cigars since 1901, United we smoke. And today is June 14th, marking Flag Day. This is the fourth day the fourth day. This is the fourth year in a row that we are having our 20 days of United Cigars. So from June 14th to our nation's Independence Day of July 4th is 20 days. So how many cigars are in a United Cigar box? 20 cigars. Get a box of United Cigars today and smoke a United Cigar every single day. So we are hosting a contest. Oliver Nouveau and United Cigars and ELOSOFUMARTAKES is hosting a contest. You can go on social media and post your United Cigar smoking every single day with the hashtag United Flag Day and be entered to win a contest that includes a box of United Cigars, brand new American flag, a vintage cigar ashtray, and a couple of other goodies that we've got included in that. So it's all on our social media. So check it out. You can post on Instagram, on Facebook. Just be sure you tag ELOSOFUMAR and also United Cigars. And also check out the all new United Cigars Discord channel where you can also post and earn a spot to win. So with that being said, Sebastian, we've got a couple of presidential trivia segments for you. The cool thing is, I think you might have a really good chance of answering them because, well, I'll let you be the judge. So let's go. There's a couple of questions here. So the first one is multiple choice, okay? First one is multiple choice. There is an ink, okay? There's a specialized ink that is used on U.S. currency. So the dollar bills that you see on U.S. currency has a particular ink that is supplied by a company that was approved by the President of the United States. But this company that makes this ink comes from what country? And it's not the United States. Here are your choices. Is it A, Germany, B, Switzerland, C, Austria, or D, Sweden? Where is the ink? What's that?
Switzerland.
It is Switzerland. Made that one a little easy for you, I have to admit. That's fine.
That was, yeah, thank you so much. When you started with, I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. I have no clue where this is going.
Awesome. Did you know that once I said it, or did the answers obviously
I have
gave
no
it away?
idea. I just figured if you put it in there and I'm Swiss, it has to be Switzerland.
Yeah, so that would have been really really
Gambling.
mean. That would have been really
Gambling.
mean if it was Germany or something like that.
There you go.
But no, it's Switzerland. Yeah, so it's Switzerland. There's a company from Switzerland that actually manufactures the ink that we
I'm actually
use on
not
U.S. currency.
surprised because Switzerland is specialized in very, very specific things. Like in terms of the problem with Switzerland is everything is so expensive that you cannot really do basic manufacturing anymore. Those kind of things. You have to be very specialized in very specific domains. We make a lot of very high precision things. We make pharmaceuticals. We make finance products, etc., etc. So when it comes down to products like this, it makes sense. Very sensitive products that Switzerland would be a source for that. Yeah, very specialized.
Yeah, it's
position to be in.
It's interesting you mentioned that because the next question is a true or false question about very specific products that are made in Switzerland. Switzerland is known around the globe. This is a true or false question. Okay. Switzerland is known around the world, excuse me. Switzerland is known around the world for manufacturing some of the highest quality leather that is frequently used on major airlines across the world. In fact, Air Force One, the airplane that transports the U.S. president, contains only Swiss manufactured leather seats in the entirety of the plane. True or false?
It's interesting, but I've never heard my home country is like linked with leather. So I would say false.
It's actually true.
Interesting.
Is true. The entire every seat cushion I guess sitting apparatus or whatever. I mean, I haven't been on Air Force One, so who knows? But I just found this out, so
I'd
this was
love to go in there. Well,
it's pretty cool. Yeah.
interesting.
So yeah,
Do
it's
you know
all
where the company is from or what the company name is?
Basil. I
Basel.
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of the company. I did not put
Yeah.
that. I didn't get that put down for some strange reason. But
So
yes,
Basel,
yes. But if the
Basel
leather is
is
manufactured out of Basel. Yes.
Basel is the so there is four cities that are known for different things in Switzerland, right? Four main cities. Which Basel is everything. How do you call that? It's the pharmaceutical, all the actual productive side of Switzerland. Then
Oh,
Zurich is known for financials mainly.
right.
Geneva for financials and international operations, anything like organizations, et cetera, et cetera.
Like Cavalier.
Um, yeah, like, well, yeah, exactly. No, but I mean, like organizations like there is what's the name of it? I know names in French, but ONU, which is like the international between countries kind of things.
Yeah, a lot of diplomatic stuff occurs
Yeah,
in Geneva.
diplomatic.
Yeah, yeah.
But then the actual diplomatic, the capital and the actual diplomatic part of Switzerland is Bern. So there's four cities. Bern being more of a village than a city. It's a very small city, but it's the capital and the diplomatic center. But Switzerland is Geneva is a center for anything of those organizations. Pretty much, it's a weird kind of setup, but yeah.
Yeah, when I think of
But
like
I'm surprised about that thing about leather. Switzerland is not the first country I would have thought when you talk leather. I would anything craft in Europe. You think a lot about Italy. You think a lot
right,
about England, but Switzerland, anything design, not really our thing. Usually watches, yes, but when it comes
yeah, I was
down
gonna
to
say Rolex out of
clothing,
Geneva.
not really our thing, right? Or nice furniture or stuff like this, not really. So it's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Interesting.
I think I think there if if this is true that this isn't verified, so this isn't like fact checked or anything like that. But if you kind of read between the lines, right? Like when they contract that out and they decide to go outside the United States, like who do you pick to manufacture stuff that's going to go on the U.S. presidential airplane, right? Like
Well,
you
put it
you
that
pick
way, it
anyone, you
makes
pick
sense,
anyone
right?
else, you offend somebody, right? Like if you
Yeah.
pick Switzerland, it's like, oh, it's Switzerland.
Yeah,
Who
whatever.
cares?
It's Switzerland. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Now putting it that way makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
yeah,
it's that neutral option.
yeah. It's
Um,
always safe. You're always
Safety,
safe in Switzerland.
security, neutral. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So speaking of diplomacy, you mentioned diplomacy a second ago. So this is our last question. Here we go. All right. Diplomatic relations. This is the hardest one. Okay. So I'm just preparing you. Okay. Diplomatic relations between the United States and Switzerland were, let's see, hold on. Just want to make sure that I got this right.
I'm worried right now. I'm very worried. What did you find?
No, let's see. Just want to make sure I got this right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I don't know this
Okay.
shit.
Yeah. Okay. So, diplomatic relations between the United States and Switzerland were formally established during this president's presidency. Was it A, George Washington, B, Andrew Jackson, C, Franklin Pierce, or D, Teddy Roosevelt?
I have no clue. I would go for D just because, but I have no clue.
Okay. I told you it was the hardest one. It was Franklin Pierce. It's Franklin Pierce. So it was
What
in
what
1853. 1853.
1853?
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense. Yeah, early on.
So,
Early-ish. Like middle early. 100 years into 100 years in, something like
mhm.
this.
Yeah, because
Into the US history as a
yeah.
country, about 100 year.
Yeah, yeah, about 80 years or so. Yeah, so yeah, pretty.
Give or take a few years.
And
Yeah.
then Switzerland, I mean, Switzerland was founded in what like
Four, seen something of it. I
Yeah,
can't remember.
late
As a
1400s, right?
county, so no. So the thing is, I'm pretty bad with dates, but the thing is, Switzerland started as um, Switzerland was a bunch of little cities and agglomerations and canton, the way you called it, the way we call it, that were independent,
The old
and
Swiss
that were
Confederacy. The old Swiss
yeah,
Confederacy knew about that.
exactly,
Yeah.
the Confédération Helvétique, and so there was a lot of pressure between large powers around in Europe, right? And so um, by default, at some point, three of them decided to unite Uri, Schwyz, and Unterwalde to actually get a bit more pull. And then it's always been voting. So they voted, they united, and then from there, everything has been voted and joined slowly but surely. And the last the last canton that joined was in it was after the 1950s, I think. I can't remember the exact date. It was actually not that long ago, which, if I'm not mistaken, was Jura, which was a part close to France that entered in, like, on the border with France, that entered into Switzerland. Um, but yeah, it's a while.
Is that near like Strasbourg or
Hmm.
like that part of the or
Strasbourg is Basel. So
okay.
Basel up, you go to Strasbourg. This is more between, it's the upper part. So you have Geneva here, then you have, it's more or less here. If Basel is here, it's more or less here in
Got
the
you.
middle. Yeah.
Got you.
And there is
Uh
actually the Jura, Swiss Jura and French Jura. So it's a part. And funny enough, there's been a part around Geneva that has tried to join Switzerland twice, and Switzerland refused by voting their integration. So they're still part of France. Their
Interesting.
integration into Switzerland.
Interesting. So
Mhm.
Switzerland was founded. We were a couple hundred years off. 1291.
Pearl 91.
The
There you
old
go.
the old Swiss
Yeah.
Confederacy,
Mhm.
where
Yeah.
everything you just talked about came together in 1291.
They're
So
still on there.
so yeah.
Hmm.
Um but so I wanted to, since we're going to be talking about Switzerland in this segment, I wanted to ask, do you miss Texas at all? Like living there,
Yeah.
or do you really?
Texas is my Texas is my U.S. adoptive home. DFW specifically, but Texas in general. Um, it's funny because I have, and we speak with Aileen about it quite a bit. Um, we both miss our original Texas, meaning the Texas we lived as a young couple arriving there. It was a great life, great experience. It was much more, the reason we left was simply because when we moved back, we had a few months old kid, no family there, and trying to run our businesses, both working on them. And it was just impossible. It was absolute
It's hard, yeah.
suicide, like life suicide. It would have ruined our personal and professional lives, just not because of Texas, but simply because of the isolation. Yeah, we had friends and everything, but friends versus family when you have a kid is a young, very, very young kid is not the same thing.
Yeah,
And so that's the only reason we left. Because we had to find a place or places where we could have the family closer and stuff like this to kind of have more help with that kind of synergy. Um, but yeah, we miss Texas. Yeah, we miss Texas. And it will forever be part of our life and the brand's life too, because
hmm
that's the home for the brand in the US. That's where the brand started in the US, and yeah. Hmm.
that's
Mm.
awesome. That's, I mean, we certainly miss you, but I totally understand that. I was actually reading a social media post earlier today, and it was talking about just the difference in generations. And you outlined a lot of it, like, when we're talking about like in the 1980s when I grew up and everything, um, I had a grandmother that lived down the street, and she would just show up. she would just come whenever. And, if, my mother was a stay-at-home mom. And so when us kids were sick and had to stay home from school, like she, she was there anyway, so she would take care of us, or my grandmother would come in, help out, and all these different things, generational things, and that it's like now, and you just described the problem with it is that now, um, you know, we're having young kids. I have young kids too. Our parents live states away, or in your case, an
Yeah.
ocean away. There's there, childcare, like you said, no, there's nothing wrong with friends, but childcare is expensive. Um, both the mom and father are typically working.
Yeah.
In your case, you guys own the business together, like, or businesses, right? And so like there's this large gap of availability,
Yeah.
and it's just how our society is developed. There's nothing wrong with it, you know, at
No,
all.
it's just
It's just
the
the way
way
it
it
is.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And
and I think, you know, regardless of costs of everything, when it comes down to what you want to give as foundations to your kids, um, you cannot delegate that to a third party person. We have help. We have, like, here typically we have someone full time at the house, but that's not a person I want to have educating my kids, giving the base foundation of life to my kid.
right.
I do appreciate that person for the help we get for the daily stuff, but that's the same thing. It's not like if you have your kids' grandparents, or your parents in that case around, it's the same life, or it's similar life principles, foundations, thought processes. You want to teach your own world to your kid so that your kid can actually get their own perspective on it, but you don't want, it's your kid. You don't want someone else's world to be pushed on your kid.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it becomes complicated, regardless of cost of things. It's about principle, I
Yeah.
think.
Well,
And
when I
funny enough, before we move to something completely different, but I'm jumping back to something else. We were talking about, sorry, I was picking up something on the ground. We were talking about Switzerland, and there is something that always fascinates me, a big difference between Switzerland, which is where I grew up in, and the US, which is a country where I lived in a good few years, and I still spend quite a bit of time in, and
right.
probably going to be that way for the foreseeable future. So it's part of my life and part of um, what I'm actually giving to my kid too. Funny enough, one of the big, big, big difference in culture, even though we're close, we're far in certain things. Um, People in the US are very informed about US history, US, anything US related, where, and I have a reason why I'm going to this, but like
No, no,
typically,
no.
if you ask me today who the president of Switzerland is, I'm going to tell you I don't know. And you ask that to most of the Swiss people, the answer is going to be I don't know, which is funny enough
Interesting, right?
because
Yeah.
we don't know, because we have a different system. But for the little story, my great, 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 I might have missed one great grandfather, was president of Switzerland.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
You
Okay,
can
that's cool.
actually Google it, Camille, Camille, Decoppet, Decoppet. He has a big, big ass mustache, and he's my great, 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 great grandfather or great, great, great grandfather. I can't remember. Funny enough, during the war. Um, that was just a fun side story. I think I never told.
No, I've never, yeah, heard that. Uh, by the way, the president of Switzerland is Cassis right now.
I don't even know who that is. You'd show me
Ignacio
a picture, I
Cassis.
wouldn't know.
Yeah. No, but it's funny you say
And
that. Who's the president of the United States? And everyone knows that it's Trump, right? Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. But that's
Uh,
the interesting thing, right? It's slight cultural differences because I think we have big parallels between Europe or the European culture in general and the US culture. But there is slight differences like this. In Switzerland is even more extreme because it's a different system from the rest of Europe,
yeah.
which is good. But yeah, so there is seven people governing and one president. Who the president actually is the elected um, voice for the seven.
I see the family resemblance, man, because Camille
Are you found
Decoppet. Yeah. Camille Decoppet.
Yeah.
Yes. President of Switzerland from 1916. Uh, for 1 year for
Mm-hmm.
1916.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. Wow, that's
So
crazy.
there you go for the little fun story of the night.
Wow. He died in Bern and
I will be. I don't even know.
that's crazy. Wow. That's incredible. I love that story. That's fantastic. Um, you can see the family resemblance, even though he's got the mustache, you got the beard. But
He does have a pretty epic mustache, yeah.
yeah, oh man, well that's cool.
Yeah.
We'll have to dive more into that later on. No, but one of the things like just we'll wrap up here and we'll get back to more things Cavalier. But one of the things I thought that what I thought about that I was kind of excited for you because I knew you were becoming a new father and stuff, and you guys had made I knew I was aware of the decision you guys made to move back to Switzerland. And while I was ultimately going to be sad that I wasn't going to see you as often, uh, I was really excited for you. I was really excited for you because I have a family that friends that has moved to Switzerland and they've lived there for over 10 years. And they're expatriates, they're expats
Yeah.
or whatever. They're from the
Yeah.
United States. And their two kids have grown up in Switzerland, and the education that they have received far is just far more diverse and interesting than anything they could have gotten in the States. Both kids are trilingual. Excuse me. Yeah, I think no, quadlingual. I think they speak four
Ah,
languages. So
yeah.
they speak French,
Yeah.
they speak German,
Yeah.
they speak English, of course.
Yeah.
And one of them speaks Italian, and
Yeah.
the other one speaks oh
I would think
shoot.
Spanish probably.
No, not Spanish. It's a bizarre language. Like it was just like they wanted to learn it and
Okay.
they took classes in it and stuff like that. Um but they're incredibly well-rounded and and it's just something that, like every parent dreams about their kid being a well-rounded individual and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And
In
both of them, and
general, I
so like,
think that's one of the things we all dream of, being able to give the kid as much as we can, right?
yeah. And so that was like one thing that I was really excited before. I was like, man, his kid's going to be really well-rounded. And obviously you grew up there, so you know exactly what to be expected of it. So that's where I was genuinely excited for you too,
I
and
appreciate that.
everything. So,
It's
um,
you know it's a good system. It's probably far from being the best system, but it was what mattered to me was I knew the system.
yeah,
So
you
when
knew the
you know,
expectation, right?
yeah, you
Exactly.
know, yeah,
Yeah. And before anyone gets all upset and be like, there's nothing wrong with a good old-fashioned American education. There isn't. Okay. Just my observation of two people I happen to know, and I'm excited for Sebastian's
no,
kids. So anyone can, people can get over it. So, um, anyway, let's get back to something more about Cavalier. So, um, really excited to talk about a couple of these other things. So um, you kind of mentioned it in passing and everything, but there was I think every cigar owner dreams about two things. And the first, at the beginning, they dream about seeing their cigar on the shelves in retail shops. And then the other one is, I think they all dream about putting out a milestone cigar. So, your 10th anniversary, 20th anniversary, 25th anniversary, whatever the case may be. But they dream about putting out a milestone cigar. And so you guys got to do that this year. Project 10th anniversary. And, really cool experimentation that you got to do with the wrapper, of course, and everything like that. So you've done limited, you've had your LE, on an annual basis for as long as I can remember. I can't remember. When was the first one? Was it 2018?
So the first one in the market was 2018. The
18.
actual first one was 2017, but never saw the light of day.
Okay. Well, so that's been a perennial release, but the milestone cigar comes out and everything. So talk a little bit about like, everyone's done it, right? Everyone's done the milestone cigar, but you
Yeah.
obviously wanted to approach this, I'm sure, with a Cavalier spin to it. So talk a little bit about the process of coming out with a milestone cigar that would be all things Cavalier.
So it's funny because it's something that I think most of everybody creating starts thinking of a long time prior to. But at least in my process, it's something that I thought of and then forgot about countless times. Um, we I even doubted the fact of making something um, at all because it's really easy to just make something to make something. And the big problem with making a milestone cigar is that, at least in my perspective, if it is just to make another cigar, I'd rather make just another cigar, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Um, because the last thing you want, or the one, or better said, the one thing you want with a milestone cigar is bringing something else more additional to the table compared to any other cigar. And the problem is you're always trying to push the boundaries with anything you create. So how much more can you push the boundary? How much higher can you put that step to make it make sense compared to anything else? And I think that's the biggest worry and concern when it comes down to making, at least for me, a milestone cigar. And we never considered five for no reason. I mean, it made no sense. 10 is a bit more for round. I mean, it was okay. Why not? Um, and and it the idea came and went, and I wasn't sure we are going to do something. And funny enough, a few things came together, right? There's actually two kind of milestone projects for 10 years, but one main one for the public, which is not a limited edition. It's more of a production that has deadline to it, because at the end of this year's production, which is going to be anywhere between early and mid-December, when we close the factory for the end of the year holidays, before starting back up early January of next year, we're stopping the production of that cigar. Funny enough, that first batch has not shipped yet, so it's going to be starting to ship around July if everything aligns properly. And to get to that cigar, it transformed. Even to the last minute, it transformed again. It took 3 full attempts from scratch. One of the things we thought of to push the envelope, push our boundaries, make something worth it, and also learn something from that process, and potentially adapt some future projects based on that teaching that we received from tobacco, was to bring, instead of looking at another cigar with 3, 4, 5 fillers and whatever, 1, 2 binders, et cetera, things just a bit by accident, but by design at the same time, landed on 10 tobaccos for 10 years.
Okay.
So 10 tobaccos celebrate 10 years in one cigar, which is 8 fillers, one binder, one wrap. And that taught us a lot. My first attempt to such a diverse amount of tobaccos in one single cigar was very disappointing. It was flat. Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Hmm.
So many tobaccos. And it felt like I was smoking 2 fillers, one binder, and one wrapper. Flat, 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 flat.
Just like zero complexity.
Zero complexity. Fine cigar. Zero excitement. Zero things happening. Just flat. So we went back. We tried again. And the second try was an absolute cacophony. When you think about it, I don't even know if cacophony is a word in English. I know it's in French, cacophony, which basically what I want to say by this is imagine an experimental jazz band playing with
Okay.
too many people playing at the same time. Different fucking things.
Yeah.
That's how the cigar smokes. That was the second attempt from scratch. And then the third one was where we started building properly.
That sounds like it's more realistic than the falling flat. Like if you've got 10
Yeah.
tobaccos, like
Oh, that's
that
what you
sound
expect. You're like, oh, it's going to be a shit show,
yeah, it's
right?
gonna be all over the place. But like
Yeah.
the falling flat one's interesting. Okay, keep going. I'm
So
sorry.
it was the falling flat one. I couldn't believe it. I felt like I was smoking one of the simplest cigars I had ever smoked in my life.
That's funny.
Yeah, it wasn't funny when I smoked it.
Well, I'm sure. I'm sure. Funny, interesting.
But it's funny. No, it is. It really is funny. But what a surprise. The same way you were surprised of hearing it. What a surprise. You smoked that cigar. It made no sense. You're like, how can we? You nearly felt like we were. I nearly felt like we were just using tobacco to use tobacco.
Yeah.
It made no sense. Just nothing. Again, not a bad cigar, just not
Yeah.
complex, which was crazy. And then we got to that blend,
The crazy
fine tuned,
one. Yeah.
et cetera, and 10 tobacco for 10 years, which is exciting. We use some tobaccos that are pretty unique in there, like Ligero from India. Our dear Paraguay, we use Ligero from Paraguay in this case. And we've pushed the thing and we pushed ourselves because when you think about it, and those are the cigars, by the way, you can't, it's Toros, one size. You can't just put 8 fillers the way you would put 8 fillers the way you would put fillers in the amounts you would in a regular blend.
Right.
You have to adapt the quantities. So you have to be very, very, very careful and specific about the amount of tobacco you put of each, and the balance has to be very specific and respected by the bonchero. And so the funny part is you actually have 7 fillers, the 2 first thirds, and we added one more in the last third, which makes it even more complicated to roll because you can't just add tobacco.
Right.
If you just add tobacco, you plug your cigar. So, or you underfill your first 2 thirds, or you plug your last third. So we had to learn a lot on how to make it work. And it's been great because now it opened a brand new world to me and to the team for future projects, concepts, ideas that might see the light of day, might not, we'll see, but it just taught us stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so not only are we very pleased with the cigar itself, the cigars, because there is 2 shades of wrappers, same wrapper, but 2 shades in the same box. But so we're pleased to show that to the market.
Right.
But we're also happy because we learned stuff that we're going to be able to continuously try again and improve on in the future to bring more exciting things to the table.
That's awesome. I I don't, Sebastian, I don't know if if I know I know that Coop and I and a couple of others have talked about this publicly, but I don't know if you've ever been a part of the conversation. We've mentioned it to a couple of other folks. Um, but 25 years ago, there was this like group of, up and comers in the cigar industry, like, when you think of like your Pete Johnsons, your Jonathan Drews, like those were the young guns back then. Those were the guys that, and now it's interesting, like what it took, people like took like people like Carlito Fuente and Jorge Padron, took them like 40 years to accomplish it. It seems like the generations are getting shorter and shorter. And so like here we are 25 years later, and then that generation. So like, the next question for us cigar media is like, who's the next generation, right? Who's the next generation of master blenders? When we look back and be like, damn, these people like really put some really cool shit on the market, and like they've really elevated the cigar industry, and they've really elevated the blending game and things like that. And your name comes up all the time, that in 10 years when we're looking back and we say, hey, who are the master blenders that really changed the game? And that name gets thrown around, like that title gets thrown around a lot. And I know it's very polarizing, master blender, because you think of like how many master blenders are there?
Yeah, I was gonna drop a I was gonna say something about Master Blend, um
But
but first of all, I'm flattered and I really appreciate it. It does mean that apparently there is some things we did right enough to be considered part of this industry in such a strong way.
yeah, it goes
Um,
back to your history comment. It goes back to like wanting to supplant your place in history and everything. And I think I mean I think you're certainly on the way there if not currently. I mean 10 years in this business is, it's such a long time now. It's crazy to look back. And um next year will be my 10th year podcasting,
it's
which is
amazing.
which is crazy.
Yeah, I was going to ask you 366 episodes. How long?
Yeah.
So 10 years next year.
Yeah, I've been doing this since 2017, man. It's crazy. So,
Amazing.
um,
Amazing.
and
So, uh-huh.
no, and I was just saying, like, when you look back in all the time that you've been blending and putting together cigars and stuff like that, and the way that you talked about like pushing the envelope and things like that, I think that I think a lot of credit needs to be given because they're I mean, and we're talking about beyond the gold leaf, right? Like we're talking about the actual blends that you like that you've put forth and stuff. And like you said, there have been risks and there have been gambles that have paid off or not, but there's always been this for me from an observation standpoint, there's always been this eye on innovation and
Mhm.
pushing that envelope. I couldn't agree more with your assessment earlier about pushing the envelope because I think that that's something that you do, but not in like a nefarious way. Like you're not a fucking cowboy. Like look at what we're doing. And but at the same time, like you're also the guy who's like, hey, for our 10-year anniversary, 10 tobaccos, we're using Indian tobacco, which what the fuck? Like, that's Paraguayan, which is also something you don't hear all the time. And you talked about the very specifics, like it's about more about subtlety rather than being out loud, right? Like you can't put full leaves of this stuff. Like you're talking about how like it's these little changes, these little pieces, and it's all about innovation forward. And I think you deserve a lot of credit for that because it's not loud, but it is impactful in what you've been able to do. So,
So, it's funny. There's a few things. First of all, thank you. I appreciate that.
it's
Sincere.
deserved. You're very welcome. Yeah, it's deserved. You're
Um,
welcome.
the other thing is, going back to the master blender thing, I think there is most probably a handful of people that could be called that in this industry. I also think it's overused and
Agree.
um uh, in the case of Cavalier, it's always been a group of people. That group has evolved through time. Some people have come, some people have gone, and it's going to continue like this. That's okay. Um, but it is always a group of people with different perspectives, different skill sets. different palettes. Now, one thing that is 100% non-compromised is, as I said early in the conversation, it starts with me, it ends with me, and I'm all the way through the process. I'm the only one to be from A to Z, but there's so many other people that are part of it.
Hmm.
And I can mention a few, right? Early on, Nadine was part of it. Aideen's always been part of it. Raoul is currently part of it. Fofo, our production manager, is part of it. The previous production manager was part of it. There is always been people within that have been part of the steps and the processes. Parts of the if you take Fofo, our production manager, every day, every time I show up at the factory, he has stuff he's trying, and he's doing more trial and error than I've done in the 10 years I've been in the industry, Byron. And that in the 10 years he's been over 30 plus years in this industry as a roller first, Ponchero and Rolero, and then our production manager. But we all play a role in there. But Cavalier being my child originally, my thing, it starts and it ends with me. And one of the things that makes me thrive, and one of the reasons I'm still here today and interested in what I'm doing, when I see here today, I'm not talking about the economical side of it or anything. I'm talking about the interest of being here and doing what I do is creative. It's all I care about is if I could erase everything else and do only one thing, it would be creating all day long, every day.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that have been created that will never see the light of day. So many things I forgot about that I was extremely happy when I got there. So many things that will still be created, and so few that we'll see and get to the market out of them. And not because the other ones are bad or anything. Some are. Some are absolutely great. But it's more about do they speak the story do they tell the story I need them to tell? Do they fit the story I want to tell right now? And if they don't, because there is distractions, because there is more creation, because they get lost under dust. We have books with blends. I have book notes and phone filled with ideas that will never see the light of day just because the next thing comes, right?
Yeah.
Not because they're bad, but just because they weren't there at the right time. That's pretty much it. So I just wanted to my parenthesis on that master blender thing. I think for me, it's important to know that I do not use that term for myself.
Yeah.
I respect that a few people do because of who they are and how much they know, but I also do not like. I mean, everybody lives in their own reality and have their own rights to do what they want out of their life and say what they want to say. And I'm pretty happy with the one of the things I like with the US is free speech and stuff like this. That freedom of, it's your perspective, your life, it's your world, your universe that you live in, right? Your perspective, it's your movie.
Hmm.
So do you, but I do me. So that's pretty much on my side. Master blender is not something I thrive to be, but I thrive to create. That's probably the purpose.
So
Um,
to build on what you were saying about teamwork and collaboration, um, you also this year's PCA, you guys announced a very unique collaboration. And I'm going to rely upon you on how to pronounce the brand of the watch company,
Cvstos,
Cvstos, um,
Cvstos. Mhm.
Cvstos, and you know, beautiful collaboration with them for a watch and cigar set and everything. So, how did that come to pass, and how does that kind of fit into the Cavalier story?
Well, so let's start with how it fits, right? Um, Geneva is the heart of the watch world in general, period, for history, right? Geneva, by its origin, is a Protestant city where in opposition to Catholics, right? At the time, where it was the center of the Protestant world, religiously speaking, and it's not my world, but it's part of my culture. And it was what people called from Calvinists, from Jean Calvin. I think it was.
Yeah,
Calvin.
Jean Calvin. Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things with that perspective on Christianism in general, and without going into detail because I don't know too much of it, is that you do not show wealth, wear wealth, or anything. So no jewels, no nothing, right? Well, technically, that is what prompted the watch to become a jewel, because the watch had a use, right? It tells the time.
Right.
So it's not a jewel. You can actually wear it, but you can make it a jewel. So it started refining the art of watchmaking.
Right.
It became the art of what it is, the movements, the technicality behind it, et cetera, et cetera. It was a jewel you could wear because it was technically an object that had a functionality more than just displaying wealth or whatever it was. Right. And so Geneva became the capital of the world for watchmaking. And we'll all think Rolex, Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, anything you can think of, Vacheron Constantin, and so many more, Franck Muller, so many more, no? From they're all Geneva based. And so when you look at this, I grew up in Geneva. I was born in Zurich, but grew up in Geneva, so it's always been part of my life. In Switzerland, it's very, it's part of the culture. Right. And then Geneva is also very important, is being considered as one of the capitals of the world for cigars because of Zino Davidoff.
Right, exactly.
It just is what it is. The Zino marked the history. He became one of the major milestones in the history of cigars, and marked and put Geneva on the map because of that.
Right.
And so I have the cigar side. I had the cigar side through the years, and that person, we had a friend in common. That person has a watch side. Funny enough, his father is the founder of Frank Miller. So one of the very, very, very large watch makers in the industry. Was very famous for that shape, actually this shape, that was then retaken by other brands and then obviously also influenced, and I can't speak too much about the history of their family, but anyways, we had a friend in common. And that friend called me up one day and asked me, hey, do you want to make a watch? And my answer was, well, yes, but it depends under what conditions. I don't want to be a watchmaker. I don't know anything about it, and I really don't want to go through the pains again. So yes, but no. Depends on the conditions. And I don't want to be a watchmaker. No interest in it, but I'm fascinated by watches. It's very much anchored into my perspective of the world, right? And so my friend put us in contact with the founder of Cvstos. We get to know each other, and very quickly we agreed on making a watch and cigars together and making a collaboration. I don't even know how it clicked. It just clicked. And a few months later, we had a first watch prototype. Everything was customized. It was crazy. We went through, what I loved is it wasn't us buying watches and putting or engraving a logo in there. It was a collaboration process, a creative process from A to Z. Everything. If you look at the watch, I have it on my wrist right now. I'm looking at it. Even the pointer for the hour, for the minutes, has a diamond on it, diamond shape. So everything, every little piece has been custom made for that watch set. And then we
Wow.
had the opportunity to build 30 of them together, and make 30 humidors and one blend for him, one blend for that collaboration, and with a total of 900 cigars. That's it. 30 cigars per humidor, 900 cigars produced, um, 30 watches, all numbered, and 30
Oh, super
humidors,
cool.
all numbered. So, and it was great because it fitted right into the 10th anniversary, actually. So it was quick. It was great. It was one of the highlights of the of my life. I think I'll so far at least I'll never forget
Yeah.
that. It was such a moment to be able to do something like this.
It's very full circle, in a lot of ways. You talk about like your ancestor, Camille Decoppet, a moment ago, former president of Switzerland, how you 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 are in a unique position because in a lot of ways you were an ambassador of Switzerland to the cigar industry. You know, now as you mentioned, you weren't the first. Zeno Davidoff, you know, put so many things about the industry on the map. The retail space, the retail humidor, like the iconic brand. Like these are all things that he contributed to this industry. But you've done it in a very in a much different way, and in a much more, you've used this term a couple times tonight, in a much more A to Z way. You know, from you know from from seed to shelf. And there's a lot of, like you mentioned, a lot of hands. There's the 300 hands, as they call it, that kind of pass through the cigar before it's lit by the consumer, and before it's enjoyed by the consumer and everything. And watchmaking is very similar to that. And you with Geneva
Very.
being the center of the luxury world in a lot of ways. Um, you know, it's really cool to have you and your story a part of that legacy in a really just like in an obvious way, but not in the obvious way that's like obvious. God, it's so obvious and it's like almost kind of like obnoxious. It's not. It's a really cool full circle story, and
I think it was a cool
it's really cool.
surprise for from life for me and a cool surprise for us to bring to the industry too. I think it just clicked. We didn't even think of it. It just happened. And when it just flows like this, usually it just means that it's obvious, right? It just feels right. There is no questioning of should we or should we not do it. Um, yeah, it's something that, and I kept one of the 30 pieces. Actually, funny enough, I have number 28 of 30. Um, and I would have hated myself if I hadn't kept one, just because this is not this was never part of the plan. It's not something you can plan for, and I think that's what I like about it. It's something that happens because life decided it was going to happen. If you
Right.
try to plan to get something like this done, it would never. I mean, to give you an idea, that watch brand has, for the people that like cars, like I do, that watch brand has made the watch in collaboration with Pagani for the Pagani Zonda in 2007.
Mhm.
So hypercar, right? Multi-million-dollar car. It has made, for the sports fan, it's making a watch series with, I think he was number 7 in the world, Kachanov, a Russian
Mhm.
tennis player. They've made watches in collaboration with 2 soccer players. They're very dynamic doing things like this with such interesting brands and people,
Yeah.
that having the opportunity to do so with them is was I would have done it without that, but with that, it's the cherry on top of the cake, pretty
Yeah, it's
much.
um not to put too fine a point on it, but it's a short list, but it's a unique list as it is distinguished. It's there's there's only so much, space in the cigar world, particularly in the boutique setting that you're in, of things to be able to do in it. Like we talked about, you pushing the envelope with, with tobaccos and things like that. But even that has its limitations because you're talking about tobacco. This allows you to kind of expand beyond the world in a really unique, like what we say, like in a really cool and unique way, bring it full circle with your own family story and kind of bringing it home, so to speak. It's kind of like almost like a homecoming, which I think is it's really cool. It's really unique. So that's awesome. Like what a great project to be a part of and everything. Um, Before we take our last few minutes to answer our last few questions of the
Mhm.
night, which are fun segments and everything. I kind of wanted to the last couple of things I wanted to ask about with this with with the decade behind us is, and we've mentioned your kiddo who's coming up on 3 years old. Congratulations and everything.
Okay.
But um I'm I become more and more fascinated with this on a daily basis because I have four kids now, and they
Four.
yeah, I've got
But
four boys.
how old is the youngest one?
One.
Oh shit.
One and a half. Yeah, he's one and a half.
So
So
so now you've been getting a bit more sleep for the last half year, but do you
yeah,
sleep
something like that.
deprived for a year prior to that?
Yeah.
I
Well,
remember the
I've
sleep
been tired for a
deprivation
dec I've been
very well.
tired.
That was so bad.
Yeah, I've been tired for a decade, Sebastian. Like my oldest is 10. So,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah, that must have been it's one of the most beautiful things that happen in life, but it's also one of the hardest and most tiring things that happens in life. It's
absolutely.
really
Yeah.
crazy. There's nothing to prepare you for this.
But I get asked this by my older kids all the time. I get asked this all the time, like, well, why do you smoke cigars? Why do you do this podcast? They don't really know a lot about it, but they know that I talk to. In fact, it was really funny. My 10-year-old a couple years ago, he was 8 or so at the time, and I remember he's like, I want to do what you do when I grow up, Daddy. And I was like, and that's of
That's
course
beautiful.
every dad's thing, right? You want to hear from your kid.
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
beautiful.
but no, catch this. I said, son, what do you think that dad does? What do I do? And he says, well, you work on the computer all day and you talk to your friends. And I'm like, well, that couldn't be a more apt description for what I do when it comes to podcasting for sure. But even in business too, like I consider a lot of my customers my friends. So it was really funny that that's his observation of it. But to put this on you, when your children someday ask you, why you decided to dedicate your life to cigars, what's gonna be your answer?
Yes, it's a good question. Really, there is, I think, two factors of it. The first is I truly love it and truly love the products. It just made me feel something. So it's something that pretty much, the question of find something that makes you happy, something that kind of drives you. Um, and not just the product itself, but then I learned through the steps that was all of it. I mean, most of it, not all of it. There is always stuff that is not that nice, but most of it that does. And then the other thing is, um, it's the reason why I started this company, but also the reason why I tried a few other projects before that I never pushed to the market for the cigars. Um, and it was a life lesson for me at the time as a young adult kid, young adult, um, which was, what can be the worst thing the day the day you know that it's your last day, your last minutes, your last hour, and you ask yourself, what if, you know? And that just opens your eyes to what can be the worst thing that can happen to you in life. If we think that we only have one life, and I know a lot of people have different perspectives on that, it's more of a philosophical question and personal. Everyone has their own right answer to it, or no answer. That's fine too. But my question to myself was, when it was in my early 20s, was what could be the worst thing in life? And I and that question came actually after a car accident that I had that I thought I was going to die in. Interestingly, I came out of it pretty clean, but I literally saw my life just go in front of my eyes, and I thought I wasn't coming out of that accident alive, and then it kind of made me think, and I was fine with it, but it made me think. And as I was alive, and that didn't happen, and my question to myself was simply, what could be the worst thing? What could be the one thing that I would hate myself for? And the answer was simply the regret of not having done, the regret of not having tried. And those are the two things that pushed me for my first true business to cigars, because I loved this world. It allowed me to dream. Cigars used to allow me to dream. It was a wonderful, unknown, filled with unknown world. Fascinating, so many things to learn, but also something that was making me dream prior. And stacking that with the second question, that's the reason. That's why I'm doing this today.
In that regard, does regret terrify you, to put it in a different way? Does regret terrify you, to put it in a different context?
Yeah, I think so, because it, you know, regret today, if you still have tomorrow, is one thing, because you can always fix it. You can take the decision right now to change, to do something that you've not done. But when the moment you know, and I truly believe that you know when it's time, the moment you know you're done, your time is up here in this current world, in that life that you're having, you can't do anything anymore. It's done.
Yeah.
And so the fear of that is, yeah, it's big. It's serious, because you can't go back. You don't have that. There's no other. There might be another chance. I don't know, but the chance today, the way it is, that's the one. That's the one I know, at least today. So I'm not wasting it.
I think what's really interesting about that perspective is that, life might be a lot better for a lot more people if they had a better understanding of their mortality, like you do. Like you said, your life flashed before your eyes. You had this moment, this profound moment that impacted your life in a very real way. Scary, but a very real way. It would be so much better, I think, if more people lived that way. Um,
Might be. But I think you don't even need that moment. I mean, something that revived that moment for me, and that thought, and those thoughts in general, was, when someone around you, and it's not a beautiful thing either, but someone close to you passes, your parents, your grandparents, someone, whoever it is that you're close to, and you lose one person that really is dear to you, it reminds you of mortality. It reminds you that we're here for, at least in this form, in the life we know today, in a very specific and defined time. We don't know we don't have the timer. We don't see it. At least I don't see it, but we know it's there.
yeah.
And so it does remind you of things. And funny enough, that moment of that accident wasn't the accident itself was scary, but it's the craziest part is you do kind of when well, at least for me when I had that experience, even though it was a very dark period of in my life for myself, like the way I perceive it, it was a moment where once everything had gone, you still feel peace, which is interesting.
Sure. Yeah, that is
But
surprising.
once you come back to your senses and life starts taking its course again, then fears come back and stuff. And but
Mhm.
it's good because those questions that you ask yourselves are the ones that actually make you do things about your life, right? You can spend this life in so many different ways, and I don't know that there is one right way to do so,
Mhm.
but probably the only right way to do so, if there is one, is the one that makes you happy at the end, right? But if those those things and those moments make you think about what you really want to do and what fulfills you, right?
Mhm.
And it makes you realize that every little small thing can be beautiful sometimes. It's just those things that it creates more sense, but it
Mhm.
also pushes you to do better, do more, do better for yourself, do better for the people around you, do better for whatever it is that motivates you, right? Whatever it is that makes you happy, your community, your family, yourself, your kid, doesn't matter, but that thing that fuels you to actually become a better person.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think, I haven't, well, that's not true. I had a very near-death experience on an amusement park ride once, but other than that, like I think the true equivalent, at least in recent history for myself, was when I lost my father a couple of years ago. And, it's that type of, you know, in your face experience with mortality that you really start to, like you said, you have peace about certain things, but then you start to really um it starts, well, it can do a couple of things. It can either demotivate you and deflate you, or it can help you rise to it and rise to the occasion. And I think in a lot of ways, well, there was a lot of period of deflation for me personally. There's still this desire to like live a better life for my kids and for the legacy of my father, and to do things that'll honor him in a way that he was always constantly questioning. And it was really interesting. My father had this terrible habit of, always questioning whether or not he was a good father. And it was just, I never got it. I never understood it because, well, he certainly wasn't perfect, and by any stretch of the imagination. But though even his imperfection, he taught me so many valuable lessons because he was always quick to admit it. He was always quick to forgive. He was always to help somebody else out, even though he needed help himself. And it was those imperfections that really kind of helped steer the course of the last couple of years of my life, and will probably continue to do so. And it is that in the back of that is the motivation of the mortality that we kind of face. Yours was very personal, mine was impersonal, but it's I can see the correlation that we're kind of talking about here. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting.
The,
So,
the last when I got my last reminder is the same thing when I lost my father. It did the same thing to me. It revived everything. It's
mhm.
very, very interesting. And I think the
What happened
same is
first, the
for you
accident,
when
or
you lose
what?
someone, you
What
Hmm?
happened? What happened first? Did you lose your father first, or the accident?
Oh no,
Which?
no, I lost my father a few years ago. I lost my father after that
Okay.
thing.
So it kind of
5 years.
took you back. It kind of took you back to that place.
Well, it took me back to the thoughts, and it also puts things in perspective. Of course, I mean, what you had, the down the tough part, I think it's normal. I had the same thing. But after that, the good part stays. Of
Hmm.
course, you have sometimes a bit harder, but the good stays more than anything else.
Yeah.
But it really just teaches you about time, life, and yeah. Ultimately, I think to make the most out of the time that has been allocated to you, whatever that means, and yeah, thrive for excellence. I think just thrive for excellence, whether it's for you, for your kids, or for whoever it is, right? But thrive for excellence, I think.
Yeah. Great. Well, Sebastian, thank you so much for tonight. I've got a few more questions for us. We call these our fun segments to conclude our
Hmm.
evening, but it's been a great conversation about Cavalier and celebrating 10 years of accomplishment for you and the company and the people around you. Fantastic stuff. So,
Thank you.
this
I'll return
next,
compliments.
absolutely. So, this next segment is brought to you by Artista Cigars, which is truly the last hidden gem in the Dominican Republic. Nearly 70 years of rolling cigars, the family behind Artista believes in honoring their long-held traditions of handmade artistry. Artista's blends include factory-exclusive tobaccos and front marks for every budget. In fact, Artista Cigars has one of the most varied portfolios in the market today. There's something for everyone at Artista. Now, if you're like me and you can never decide what to smoke, Artista Cigars is truly a breath of fresh air because I know I can pick something from any box they have to offer, and I know I'm going to get something pretty special. So, Sebastian, this is our what I call our this or that segment. I'm going to give you two things, and you pick one. It's pretty easy. It's supposed to be rapid fire. Um, so let's start with cigar related stuff. Box press or parejo?
Currently, Parejo.
Okay.
It changes.
Natural wrapper or claro wrapper or Maduro?
Oh, that's a tough one. Uh, Maduro right now, but
Gotcha.
it changes too.
Okay. Outside
Yeah,
of Cavalier cigars, are you more likely to smoke a boutique brand or a legacy brand?
I don't know what means. What I will say is I'm likely to enjoy craft cigars, and what I mean by craft is cigars that have been created by or with intention, um, focusing on creativity, on passing a message, on making a difference. Don't care if it's big, small. Don't care. It's to me, craft is what I'm looking for. It's the intention that matters.
As a manufacturer, what is more challenging, a limited edition or a core line?
Core line, because it's a long-term um project. An elite, if you miss for some reason, or if the market doesn't receive it, it's a one-time thing. So core line is what builds, and that's more difficult.
Um, would you rather have a morning smoke? I love asking this question of everybody. Would you rather have a cigar in the morning or at the end of a long night?
Both.
Gotta pick one.
Um, you know what? Morning, clean palate. I like the evening because it clears your head. It's your time for yourself. But the morning, the clean palate for the product itself, the morning is the best moment, in my opinion.
Okay. So knowing your connection to Zurich and to Geneva, would you rather live in Basel or Zurich? Excuse me, Basel or Bern? Sorry.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. Basil.
All right,
Basil.
these are more fun and zany, so just bear with me because they're supposed to be fun. Would you rather own a pet giraffe or a pet penguin?
Penguin. It's more practical.
Would you rather have unlimited cheese for life or unlimited chocolate?
Ooh, cheese. cheese all day long.
If every would you rather have every cigar band have the ability to sing when it's removed, or every lighter that you open up tells a dad joke before lighting a cigar?
Oh, the lighter, the dad joke. Yeah, yeah, no questions. Dad joke.
Awesome. All right. Well, this brings us next to our next segment of the evening, which is brought to you by Postania Cigars. It's called Everybody Eats. If you always make sure that your servant's towel is bigger than your appetite, everybody will always get theirs. Postania Cigars is more than just great cigars made by cool people. They embody an attitude of gratitude and grit. And with Postania, everybody eats. So, what is the best experience you've had with eating with other people?
Huh. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I really don't have an answer to that.
Okay, let's ask a different one. What's your favorite dish that you like to make to share with other people?
I like to cook quite a lot. So I cook quite a bit. Um, but if I had to pick one thing, it would probably be pasta bolognese. Um, it works. Just works.
Okay. How long have you been making it? Is that something you've made quite a bit over the years, or?
Uh, I've been actively like cooking because I like it for probably, sorry for the noise if you hear it. That's those we're the house is not far away from the Pan American Highway, so every time those trucks come by, it's just very
Gotcha.
nuisance.
I didn't even hear
I've
anything,
been
so but I hear you.
actively cooking for maybe close to well, probably about 15, close to 15 years as ongoing, just as something I like to do.
Hmm.
So close to that probably. There is periods, there is cycles and everything. But that's one that always comes back. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, this is the second to the last question for the night, and it's brought to you by Asylum Cigars. Refuge is more than a physical place, it can be a state of mind. Some of life's greatest reflections can be found in our own personal asylum. Moments like these were made for Asylum Cigars, so light up an asylum and choose your refuge. I've been wanting to ask this question to you for a while. Obviously, it's almost 3 years now. With the birth of your child and everything, everyone always thinks about like what's that moment like, and we celebrate those moments probably with anything. And I'm sure you had your own celebrations and traditions or anything, but like, what was the first cigar that you smoked after your child was born? Was it an intentional pick? Or what can you tell us about that experience?
So funny enough, I don't remember the first cigar I smoked after she was born, but I do remember the cigar I smoked the day she was born, which was during the labor because long labor, and I needed to kind of change my mind. And it was an unbanded Domaine Rouge.
Your cigar, right? That's the blend.
Yeah,
That's your blend.
yeah.
What had did it do the trick, man?
Did
Did it
you?
give you
Yeah,
did it
it
give you
did.
the piece
It
that you
did.
needed?
Do you remember the cigars you smoked just after or the day of the birth of all your
Yeah.
kids?
Yeah. Well, in my case it's actually rather lucky because so about 10 years ago I was gifted a box, excuse me, over 10 years ago I was gifted a box um well yeah, about 15 I was gifted a box of La Flor Dominicana DL 700s. And this was actually well over 10 years ago. This was like, I guess, yeah, 16 years now. And I've had that box. I smoked a couple out of it, um, but I decided that I wanted to keep it because it was a gift from some of my friends. I was going to keep them and I was going to smoke them for different milestones. And so when my first son was born in 2015, the cigar was 5 years old. And then when my second son was born, it was, 7 years old. And when Justice, my youngest, was born in 2024, he was 14 years old. And so I
That's
specifically
very,
grabbed those cigars and
really
stuff.
stick with that box
Yeah,
for all of them. That's
yeah.
amazing. That's
So
amazing.
and the
But it
cigar,
makes it really special, right?
yeah.
It makes that cigar, even though it there's so many options out there. It just sometimes it's not just as you, in your case, for example, it's that cigar became this because of more things that came prior, right? Your
Hmm.
friends gifting you the box and everything. The cigar has to be really good, of course, because you want to celebrate with something special, right? You don't want to celebrate with a horrible cigar.
Hmm.
Um, but but it's funny how again life throws stuff at you, and it just. But it's nice to see that the four are linked to that same cigar. I'm sure that
Hmm.
cigar will always mean something special for you now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still have a few left, and I want to definitely hold one until my oldest graduates from high school, which will make it 23 years old. The cigar will be 23 years old at that point. So,
Amazing.
um, yeah. So it'll be a great moment. And
Yeah.
the cigar still smokes well, so it's really great. And yeah, been holding on to them, so it's been fun. So,
All right, fantastic.
awesome. Well, this is the last question of the evening. Sebastian, thank you so much for joining me
No,
tonight. And listen, I know you got to work tomorrow. You're down in Honduras. You're working hard, and spending Sunday night with me, man. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much for the opportunity
no.
to speak with you tonight. So, the last segment is our curveball segment. It's always brought to you by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Fastballs or curveballs, it doesn't matter since the company's inception. Steve Sock has been knocking them out of the park. Count it up. It's been 11 consecutive years in the consensus top three. Congratulations to our friend, Mr. Steve Saka. So it's interesting. Earlier, you kind of foreshadowed this question a little bit. You mentioned movies. So if we could imagine Hollywood is announcing tomorrow that they are making the founder of Cavalier. That's the as a major motion picture. That's the name of the movie, The Founder of Cavalier. Who plays you in the movie?
Hopefully, I will not have to see that movie in the theater because I don't really know I would be able to sustain that or to be able to go through that. It's a good question. I'm not, probably you. As long as the person has a beard, we're good to go
There
and
we
friendly.
go. I
So
could do that. I
let's
could do
there you
some
go.
acting.
I'll have
Okay.
Bear. I'll have Bear do it. I'll have Bear do it. You ready for it?
Yeah. I was
Actually, if you act in it, I'll watch it. I'll
There you
watch it.
go.
I
Sounds
promise.
good. I was trying to think about this. Like this I was putting this question. I was like, man, who would play Sebastian? And then I thought about like who would play me? And for the longest time, like back in his Wolverine days, I would have said Hugh Jackman. Put a little more facial hair on him and like I think Hugh Jackman could have done a good job. So I think, Hugh Jackman would be a good choice, for sure.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Yeah.
Yeah. But what actor, so here's the second question. Which actor would you absolutely not want anywhere near the film?
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of those. What's his name? I don't even know. There's that actor that played in it's I can't remember the name. He plays in all those teenager vampire kind of movies and stuff like this, and I
Oh,
can't stand his face
Pattinson,
because of that.
Robert Pattinson.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
I know he does all those. I couldn't do that. I couldn't. I no, that wouldn't work.
there you go. He doesn't have
Yeah,
a beard either, so yeah, definitely
he's
not.
that's why
Yeah.
we don't like each other too much. No, there's a few great actors out there. Actually, it's funny enough. There is being European means I'm not fond of certain other cultures around Europe. The same. I guess the same, not in a bad way, but the same thing that happens between states in the US, right? One
Sure,
state,
sure, yeah, yeah, yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. So we have the same thing in Europe pretty much between the countries. Um, but there is a country where they're known to um, be the ones that everybody says, oh, we don't like them, which is France, right? Which is funny because France is very multicultural actually. But one thing that I think is fascinating about France is their cinema, their movie culture. I mean, they have a big cinema. They have a lot of movies made in
Yeah,
France and a
Cinebank
lot of
industry is huge there. Yeah.
fantastic actors, very, very, very good actors there that have also marked my childhood, amongst other things. And those would be great options too. And they'd speak with a shitty accent like I do, so that's not bad either. Now, Bear, I do appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me too. It's always a pleasure, and it had been a while. I can't remember when the last time was, but it's been a while. So thank you for that.
That was my pleasure. Thank you so much, Sebastian. I really enjoy our friendship, and I really enjoy every opportunity to get to speak with you. It has been a while. Wanted to. It's been 3 years now, so but congratulations on the beautiful birth of your daughter, and you know, coming into this fraternity of dads.
Yeah.
It's a fun experience. It's a great experience, and it's always a blessing when I see someone else join the club, so to speak. So I'm glad you're loving
Make
it.
me feel less alone, right? I'm
Yeah,
trying to get more people in too.
it's a good club to be a part of, man. It's so much fun, and
No,
the part of you always kind of stays young, which is really cool.
it's as we said earlier, it's an experience that has no, I mean, you can't prepare for it. You don't have any clue on how difficult it can be, on how challenging, on how tiring, but on the other hand, how beautiful it is, and the beautiful outweighs everything else, which is crazy because the odds are stacked against it when you look at everything, right? The entire challenge and everything. But the beauty of it, you have your kid just look at you and smile, and you're good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Special. Special.
Well, again, Sebastian, thank you so much. Thanks to our audience for staying up late with us. We really do appreciate it. For everyone who's tuned in live on Facebook, we broadcast nearly every Sunday night at 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern. And our video broadcast is always courtesy of Foundation Cigars. Nick Malolo is a well-known cigar maker in the premium cigar industry. He is the founder and owner of Foundation Cigars, which produces a range of high-quality, handcrafted cigars. His values consist of quality, consistency, balance, and flavor. Check out foundationcigars.com today. If you are listening to us via podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts, our audio broadcast is always courtesy of Gran Habano Cigars. Honest, compassionate, great cigars. Be sure you download, subscribe, and review today, thanks to our good friends at Gran Habano. We are very much appreciating everybody for tuning in tonight, and we thank you so much for being a part of the 366th take of ELOSOFUMARTAKES. It's been a fantastic one. We love it so much. I wanted to mention that our schedule is going to take a little bit of a sabbatical here after next week. Next week is Father's Day. We just talked about being dads, so Father's Day. And of course, we always have Tom Lazuka of Asylum Cigars on for our Father's Day episode. So we'll be doing that on the 21st. And then after that, we're going to be taking a couple of weeks off. On July 4th, we're going to be ending our United Cigar, United Flag promotion. But on July 4th, I'm actually going to be getting married. And so we're going to be ending that wonderful promotion on the 4th of July, the 250th anniversary of our country, and I'm getting married. So a lot going on. So we're going to be taking a couple weeks off after Father's Day, but we'll be right back with some amazing guests, just like Sebastian. So you definitely want to stick around and stay tuned as we release those guests out. So definitely check it out. So anyway, I'm Bear Duplessis, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star studio of Azle, Texas. This was our 366th take. He's Sébastien Decoppet of Cavalier Genève. Guess what, everybody? We'll see you next time.